name is Data Seti. This is Green Rush Revolution. We are here at MJ BizCon Week. We are at the International Cannabis Bar Association, Survey, and I'm here with Lara Decaro, co-founder of INCBA, and Segerblom, County Commissioner of Nevada, correct?
Correct.
Excellent. So how are you guys doing tonight?
I'm great.
Really?
I'm doing really well. Yeah, I'm
Awesome.
so happy to be back. I mean, this is kind of one of the first events that we've been able to enjoy together, right? Where everyone is descending from all corners of the country and the world, really, right? To come back together after having to shut down for COVID. So this is great. This is like a revitalizing experience. The whole place is on fire. Everybody's energy is super high.
I know.
And we're just like sleep? What's sleep? I'll sleep next week when I get back to where I'm from.
I mean, it's amazing to see this. Go ahead.
I agree. Everything she said.
Yeah.
Keep him around.
I mean, it's absolutely fire. I mean, it's so great to have all of us back again, to be able to have these types of conversations. It's always an important part of the cannabis industry to be able to get together at this event, everybody from all over the world, really, and really to talk about cannabis and the policies that we see today and where we're moving forward in the industry. And certainly Nevada, I mean, they just came out with the coming out with the on-site consumption licenses. Can you tell us a little bit about that, Tim?
Yeah, we've been pushing it for a long time, but it's finally going to be here. So next year you're going to see lots of it. And I've been telling people for years, this is going to be the Amsterdam of the West.
Amsterdam of the West, nice.
There's no better place in the world than Las Vegas to have consumption lounges and then have consumption in the where you have the concerts, in the restaurants, in the casinos, everywhere. We're so perfect for it. So it's the final compliment for what we do. We're Sin City, and this is another sin.
Well, I've always respected the state of Nevada on how good they are at regulation, right? But definitely one thing is they needed this in place to avoid, to have a private space where it's safe for folks to come in and consume, right? And so where do you see it going? Do you see it actually coming into casinos?
Absolutely.
Do you see it? Oh, really? Okay,
yeah.
you see that.
It has to be decriminalized federally, but as soon as it does, it'll be right in there. There'll be a dispensary right next to a restaurant, right next to a bar. There'll be something in the Raiders Stadium. There'll be something in the
Raiders Stadium.
T-Mobile. It's inevitable.
Wow, I know. So my company has been based out of Oakland for like the last 20 years, and I actually live in Las Vegas now, and I love it. It's amazing. But yeah, Oakland's Raiders moving to Las Vegas Raiders was a little strange. Yeah. So tell me, with the INCBA, I've always respected you guys as an organization. Obviously, Katie, we worked with her for a very long time, and being the consortium of all the legal minds internationally, what are you seeing kind of in other countries now? I mean, do you see a lot of adoption with, in terms of a lot of the people joining INCBA in other countries?
Yeah. No, we have a lot of international members. People are really excited. We have reached out to people in different countries, Colombia, Germany, Canada. We've got people from all over the world who are interested in the organization because it provides them with a little bit of, I would say, like a balance. They can come to us with issues they see that are developing in their countries, and we can talk about how or if that's something we've seen in the United States, because the market in the U.S. is a little bit more mature than in other places, right? So we're seeing at least the ability to brainstorm about what works, what doesn't work, what might work in their community, because obviously all of these countries are very different and everybody's community is extremely different. So we can't go in there and say, hey, what we did in California is going to work for you. Even in Nevada, we can't do that, right? Mm-hmm. So but we are discovering a strong sense of collaboration, and folks are super interested. So we're getting a lot of members around the world, and we're happy about it. I mean, we need to diversify. That is actually kind of one of the conversations we were having earlier tonight with my crew, was really making sure that we are bringing all of those people into the fold. We want more additional international members. We want them to run for board positions. We want them to run for executive positions on our board, because we need their input as much as they need.
And leadership.
Yeah, and their leadership
as well.
Yeah, and we want the diversity. Right?
Absolutely. So, me personally being in this year for 26 years, going all across the United States, winning well over 100 plus licenses across 14 states and 2 countries, it's such a patchwork all over the place. And so when we look at things like how do we get a streamlined process of this based off of pioneering best practices, it's really interesting. States like Nevada have done really well at regulating. And you know,
He
every
wrote it.
state's
You know,
adopted.
he wrote it.
Oh,
I mean, like, you're
right.
talking
So
to the man who wrote
I'm
the
just
law.
like praising you. It's
so, yeah,
amazing.
right?
I mean, you did a really good job.
He is the godfather of cannabis in Nevada. Like
Awesome. And
This
you
is
did
the man who made it happen. And
fantastic.
He is one of my favorite people. One of
Right.
my, I mean, and I'm not a starstruck type of girl, right? But I love this man and his family. Just his amazing family. He's just got this most beautiful family. Anyway, so
Right. So what do you see, you know, Las Vegas specifically, or even the whole state? Like, what are you seeing across the state in terms of, you know, is there more licensing coming up, or are we going to see more licensing rounds for more opportunities, or is it just going to be just the on-site consumption lounges that we're looking at right now? I mean, do you see a future forecast of some more opportunities happening?
We're going to be stuck with the number of lounges we have for a while, just because they're so valuable that no one wants to expand them. But what we're doing is we're having a lot of tribes around the rural areas. They're going into the space because those rural counties won't take it. So they're just stepping up and saying, we're going to have a dispensary. So Elko has a dispensary, Winnemucca has a dispensary, Yarrington has a dispensary, Ely has a dispensary. We're going outdoors at Fort McDermott Indian Tribe up right next to Oregon. So lots of things are going like that. The other thing that's happening is the social equity piece, and that's where lounges are going to come in, because we're going to require those lounges to have minority partners.
Awesome.
And once that gets up and running, then we can start to say, well, if you're going to have a lounge, you got to be able to have a dispensary too. And so that's where it's going to happen. But it's going to take a few years. But the truth is, this industry is so, it's infancy, and it's still on a rocket thing. When I started this, I'm riding a wave for a couple of years. I met Lara. Well, let's see how far we go.
Go wax the board up.
We're still going.
Yeah. And speaking of social equity, I mean, is there anything like Nevada is doing in terms of like grants or anything to support these folks? Like, you know what I mean? Because I think access to capital is a very important thing for these folks.
We just, on the county where I am, we just approved $4 million a year for both a training program and for equity to give to people, give them $200,000 to get their lounge up and running. But we've learned from around the country that just give somebody $200,000, they know what they're doing, it just like pissing it down the drain.
Totally.
So we're going to teach them first how to do it, how to mentor, how to hook up with other people, and then give them the money. So hopefully, collectively, then they can succeed. But
right.
It's something where you can't just hand somebody money. It's an incubator process, and that's what we're doing right now in Clark County.
Right, and we're looking at some of this in other states too, where they're partnering with academic institutions, you know, to help them go through, and of course operators too in live operating setting, because a lot of these folks, you know, formerly incarcerated, maybe didn't have access to this education, you know, to help propel them and become more successful. I would imagine that's something the state of Nevada is thinking about, correct?
No, absolutely. We're not thinking about it. We're doing it. We just said we got $4 million and more on the way, but it's $4 million a year, so it's out there. We're also trying to clean up records so that people don't have anything on their any marijuana convictions or anything else on there. But
that's amazing.
It's so fun to see what we're doing. The reality is, marijuana is so progressive, and yet alcohol, which is a much bigger problem, no one's looking at them and saying, why don't you give a piece, and why don't you give us some money? So I'm working on that too, trying to raise the tax on alcohol, but don't say that too loud.
But yeah, I mean, that's kind of been always one of our things is, right, we have these ideas that we should be imposing these social equity requirements specifically on cannabis, and specifically in a way that encourages people to participate in the cannabis industry, but we really need to look outside of that, because the fact is, somebody who's been adversely affected by the war on drugs, as we like to say, may not want to participate in the cannabis industry. We need to give them a heads up and a hand up to get into an industry they want to, you know, participate in. Maybe they want to run a hair salon for all I care. I don't give a you know, hoot. But I think, you know, we're starting to look at ways to broaden our approach. In San Francisco, we started a pro bono legal services project to try to give people resources, right? Where, so you can actually have lawyers who will donate their time to verified equity applicants and help them navigate their process with their investor side, or you know, their applications, their regulatory compliance needs, and we donate a ton of time for this. And it's super important that lawyers around the world are doing that. We should have those programs in every city in the current, I think, program is perfect. I think we're all kind of learning what works, what doesn't work. We get a lot of good feedback from both the social equity applicants and the people that, you know, are investing in the social equity businesses. And so, it's going to be a process, and we're going to have some hiccups.
Yeah.
But so I'm also doing a class actually at City College of San Francisco, right, for free, for social equity
Excellent.
people. Anyone actually who wants to pick it up can pick it up, and it's going to be at least 3 hours, if not more, of content that just goes through like, this is what you need to do in San Francisco.
Totally. I did this very similar thing in Illinois right before COVID hit. It was just, helping folks with an accelerator program that allowed them to get through the process at a fraction of the cost, so it didn't really hurt them, man. And and there's other things that are happening that I've seen where it's really trying to avoid, like you have these big, huge companies coming in and just using that social equity applicant just to get the license. I mean, what do you think about that?
What do you,
I mean, I don't know.
Can I curse
what
on
is your
this?
opinion? I mean, it's like crazy.
Is it going to get bleeped?
It's just interesting to see this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it happens all the time.
It's terrible.
It's happening. I mean, hand over fist, this is what is going on. And part of the problem is we see like two different approaches, right, from local regulators, right? So we see some of the local regulators will say, well, that's a private contractual matter. Right. You guys need to go work it out in the courts.
Right,
right. Well, do you know how expensive litigation is?
I know.
And then we have on the opposite spectrum, though, regulators who get so up the skirt of the investor equity applicant relationship that they burn it to the ground. And it's like, so we have to find, the pendulum is swinging, right? Like in these various markets. But I think we will find that sweet spot of how do we support them? One, with education, opportunity, cash.
All of that.
And then how do we educate, right? Because it's about knowing these people are smart. They totally get it. They understand what the issues are. They just need to know what their resources are to help them really follow through, right? And so I guess it's, it's a difficult conversation to have, but we see this happening all the time. And, I think the best thing to do is talk to the particular equity business and find out what they want to do. How do they want to proceed through this? And then fight like hell to make sure that happens for them.
Right. And I would love to see incorporated the regulations, helping defend that in some type of capacity. And I think that, since the state of Nevada done such a great job at regulating, I mean, what do you think? I mean, do you think it could be a framework for it for some other states that are coming online? Like we got Virginia, we got New York, we have all these different states coming online. I believe that Nevada could be a great framework for that. What do you think, Tig?
Well, we're actually, in my opinion, I've been talking about this a long time, is we should be the cannabis capital of the world, using our industry as an example, and then let's bring some entrepreneurs in here, and we're working on this, an incubator, where all these people that make the other little products, the vapes, all these things are based here, and then people from around the world can come here, learn how we do it, and then go back out and spread the word. So we have such a great transportation network. We have no taxes. The government is ready to step behind you. So it's really the stars are in alignment. So I think in the next few years you're going to see really the industry side of it take off. And this will be the tech capital where people, like the Silicon Valley, where people come here to learn how to do it and then go back around the world and spread the love.
So Tig,
from my ear,
spread the love.
Wait.
Oh my God.
Do we get outdoor cultivation too? Can we get this? I mean, right?
I mean, another question for you. I mean, what's with the supply chain that's happening in Nevada? Have you seen a lot of issues, challenges with operators or because that happens a lot in a lot of states. And how has Nevada's regulations, sort of curbed that or propelled that or helped that?
Well, no industry is perfect, so we've had our issues. But truthfully, it's amazing. We have $1 billion industry today that we didn't have 4 years ago. And so the fact that we can create something from whole cloth in 4 years, $1 billion, over $150 million a year in taxes, and not have any major issues, is just phenomenal. That's amazing. And the DUIs, as far as marijuana, haven't gone up. There's no thing about kids in high school or anything else. There's no social problems associated with it that everybody kept saying, oh, you're going to do this and the world's going to go to hell. Right. So if you actually look at the naysayers back when we started, none of that has happened. It's really been just such a positive thing. It's hard to believe. So some white men have done some good jobs.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. So Laura, 3 takeaways for our audience. What do you think 3 takeaways are for cannabis business entrepreneurs out there today? What should they be thinking about if they're trying to start a cannabis business in the state?
They're just starting now.
Yes.
And wow, location, right? Where do you want to be? Connections. So getting to know the regulators, the people who are making the decisions behind whether or not you're going to get a license.
Right.
And capital. I mean, it sucks, but it's true. You have to identify, 200 grand is great, but it's probably not going to get you open. Right?
Right.
I mean, you're gonna need $1 million.
Right.
And so, access to that, as Tick said, is absolutely key. We need to make sure that people have access to capital, and that's why we've had this huge discussion around passage of the Safe Banking Act, right? And whether or not that's enough.
Right.
Is that enough to do or undo some of the harms, right, that have been done over the last 50 years, 60 years, more, to try to address the access issues that people have. Maybe not enough. I mean, is it a slippery slope? Yes. Is it a big step? Yes. I don't know what the answers are, obviously, but I think that we need to continue to have the conversations. We need to get access to capital for people who want to come into the space, because there's plenty of room. I mean, there's
a massive amount of opportunity.
So much opportunity.
Yeah.
And we need good players on all levels of the supply chain.
For sure. Including the
if
support
you have
industry.
A good idea, right?
Yeah.
If you have art or you have a recipe or anything like that, reach out to one of us. Maybe we can help you out and introduce you to somebody.
Help you work through those details.
Those connections, right? But anyway, those are mine.
That's amazing. And Tick, for you, it's a little bit different. I would love to hear 3 key takeaways on policymakers. What should they do in new states to create regulations that have done so well like yours has?
Try to stay out of the way. I mean, don't try to over-regulate and limit. So let creativity go crazy. So with lounges, I mean, the typical thing would be you go in a room and you sit there and smoke and talk about something. But why not have a Pilates studio? Why not have a 24-hour fitness? Why not have a haircut place? Why not have a acupuncture? Anything where your sentences are enhanced.
Right.
Add marijuana to it. Let people advertise it. The small, the hairdresser can have it in her store.
Right.
Advertise that. If it works,
Amazing.
it works. But can you imagine you come from Kansas, you come to the Caesar's Palace. It has a thing that says health spa in the basement, and it says hot rock massage and Swedish massage and marijuana massage. What are you going to get? You're going to get the marijuana massage.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, and truthfully, you'll feel every little bone and every little thing in your body. I mean, it just enhances all those things.
Yeah.
Restaurants, it's just, you can't. And again, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But why try to regulate things before we even know if it works?
Or even constrict it. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that makes a lot of
And
sense.
that's the problem. Anytime you get government involved, and I'm saying this on behalf of the government, you always stifle things. And so you always have to be thinking, why not? As opposed to not.
Right. And keeping an open mind in terms of these things, but understanding how to make sure that it's regulated properly, which you guys have done a great job.
You could actually have a TV network or a YouTube channel, or you could have some kind of a PR company where you do interviews.
And the other thing I want to add is that what I'd love for you guys to focus on as regulators is lowering taxes.
Right.
I don't think it's necessarily a problem here in Nevada, but in a lot of jurisdictions, right? They need to lower the taxes because we really need to incentivize people to enter the regulated market, right? And we need to reduce those barriers to entry, lowering the application rates. I mean, the application
increasing
costs
volume,
and things,
increasing
right?
volume,
getting people in. And yes, that'll definitely increase tax revenue, right? But decreasing the actual tax rates on the cannabis products to help us keep products from entering the illicit market, because we really don't want to create a scenario where it's a lot more effective, cheaper for the customer to purchase through the illicit to the back channel, right?
And the back channel is being not tested for human consumption. I mean, there's a lot of
Often
problems
not,
with
Sometimes
that.
yes, but often not. Right.
And then the Delta 8 and Delta 10s and all
don't get
this
me
other
started on
stuff that's
Delta
happening
hate.
there, I mean, it's just
you got the Delta
really
hate
crazy what's happening right now around that whole thing. We're seeing it all over the country, and it's kind of wild because this is all for human consumption, and people are reacting differently to it. So
yeah, and it's not tested, and it's super dangerous.
Right. Awesome. Well, Laura, thank you so much. This has been an amazing time. Thank you. Great. Tick Segerblom, thank you so much for bringing on the show.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. This is
Very
great.
cool.
My name's Ed Acetti. This is Green Rush Revolution. Thank you, guys.